Good evening and welcome to the weekend telecast of Just the News. I'm Faye. Let's get straight to it. The Union Health Ministry on Saturday has said the COVID situation is stabilizing across the country, but 6 states are still reporting very high numbers of COVID deaths. Maharashtra, Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Punjab and Delhi are the 6 states with the high numbers. The silver lining, however, is the COVID positivity rate that has declined to 12.45% in the last 1 week. The Health Ministry has also said the active cases are going down in the country. India reported 257,000 new COVID cases, 4,194 deaths on Friday. According to data shared by the Union Minister D.V. Sadananda Gowda, there are 8,848 cases of mucormycosis or black fungus in India right now. Majority of these cases are in 3 states: Gujarat with 2,281, Maharashtra with 2,000 and Andhra Pradesh with 910. Other states like Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Karnataka are also now reporting large numbers. The Minister, Gowda, has announced that there will be an additional allocation of 23,680 vials of the amphotericin B, which is the key drug to treat this fungus. Mucormycosis is a rare fungal disease that is now being seen specifically in recovering COVID patients who were treated with steroids while they were in hospital. Remember, the Prime Minister, also speaking to frontline workers in Varanasi, said black fungus is a new challenge for the government. Many doctors now talking about how the overuse of steroids to treat COVID in India specifically has caused this problem. The Health Minister on Friday has said that India will be in a position to vaccinate our entire adult population by the end of this year. In a COVID review meeting, the Health Minister said between August and December, India will have procured 216 crore vaccine doses. By July, we will have 51 crore doses procured. He also directed state governments to ensure that 70% of the vaccine doses being provided by the central government be reserved for second doses. Delhi and Maharashtra, you'll know, have temporarily suspended vaccination of adults between the ages of 18 and 44 because of shortage of vaccination. The Health Minister spoke about a possible third wave and said children would be the most vulnerable during the third wave and health facilities should be upgraded accordingly. The Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, in the meantime, has said that vaccination drive for the 18+ category has been halted in Delhi because they have finished their allocated stock. Kejriwal said due to this, the vaccination centers have been shut. Only few vaccines are available in some centers which will be administered today. We are close to the vaccination centers. We're closing the vaccination centers from today because the vaccines for the 18+ category have been exhausted, he said. While quashing the central government's notification of levying 12% integrated goods and services tax on oxygen concentrators which are imported as gifts, the Delhi High Court referred to this as a George Floyd moment for the citizens of this country. The bench said, and I quote, "The refrain is, I can't breathe, albeit in somewhat a different context and setting, although in circumstances some would say vastly more horrifying and ghastlier. Chased and driven by merciless novel coronavirus, the citizenry have been driven to desperation and despair." End quote. The court noted that liquid medical oxygen is in short supply and not only in Delhi but other parts of the country, which has resulted in people scrambling for oxygen cylinders and concentrators. The judgment was passed on a plea by an 85-year-old COVID patient whose nephew from overseas had sent him an oxygen concentrator as a gift from the United States. The petitioner had argued that the government had imposed IGST, which is integrated GST. It's a type of GST on this oxygen concentrator, which was a gift, and the plea argued that this is not only a violation of Article 14 but also a violation of the right to life under Article 21. During an e-summit, the Serum Institute of India that manufactures Covisshield's executive director Suresh Jadhav alleged that the government began vaccinating people from multiple age groups without taking into consideration the available stock or the WHO guidelines. According to a report by PTI, Suresh Jadhav said, and I quote, "Initially 300 million people were to be administered the vaccine, for which 600 million doses were required of 2 doses. But Before we reached that target, the government opened up vaccination for those above the age of 45 and then those above the age of 18, despite knowing well that so much vaccines were not available. He also said that the WHO guidelines should have been followed and vaccination should have been prioritized accordingly. Tamil Nadu has extended its lockdown by another week until the 31st of May, with more stringent measures now brought in. The new Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has said for the convenience of the public, a few relaxations were announced, but people were using those relaxations as a holiday period and many were spotted roaming outside unnecessarily. This is not a holiday period, we are in a pandemic. Tamil Nadu reported 36,184 cases and 467 deaths on Friday. The Indian Medical Association has said the central government should immediately take action against Mr. Ramdev of Patanjali, commonly known as Baba Ramdev, for alleging that he has misled people by making unlearned statements against allopathy and defamed scientific medicine. The IMA, which is the Association of Doctors in this country, has said Ramdev should be prosecuted under the Epidemics Diseases Act as untutored statements are being made. They are a threat to literate society of the country as well as to the poor people falling prey to him. The Medical Association cited a video that's currently doing the rounds on social media where Mr. Ramdev has allegedly said that allopathy is a stupid science. He has also said that lakhs of people died after taking allopathic medicines. Mr. Ramdev further said that Remdesivir and Faviflu and other drugs which are approved by the Drug Controller General of India have failed in the treatment of COVID. Now, this is an extract from the IMA letter to the Government of India. The Union Health Minister, Mr. Harshvardhan, who himself is a practicing modern medicine allopathic postgraduate, and the head of this ministry should either accept the challenge and the accusation of this gentleman and dissolve modern medical facility, or boldly face and prosecute this person for his words of arson on the sovereignty of the country and book him under the Epidemic Act to save millions of people from such unscientific utterances. The IMA demands and resolves that if the minister, Mr. Harshvardhan, Dr. Harshvardhan, is not taking suo motu action, we will be forced to resort to democratic means of struggle to propagate the truth to the common man and knock on the doors of the judiciary to get justice, end quote. In other news away from COVID right now, the Gujarat governor has given his assent to the Gujarat Freedom of Religion Amendment Bill 2021, which is effectively the love jihad law passed by the state legislature on the 1st of April this year. According to this bill, forced conversion by marriage or by getting married to a person or by aiding a person to get married will lead to imprisonment of 3 to 5 years and a fine of up to 2 lakh. If the victim is a minor or a Dalit or a tribal, the offender will be punished with a longer jail term of 4 to 7 years and a fine of no less than 3 lakh rupees. If the organization violates the law by aiding this said marriage, the head of the organization will face imprisonment up to 3 to 10 years. States like Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh have also passed similar laws. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has ordered the withdrawal of most cases filed against the anti-Sterlite protesters. The Chief Minister has also ordered a provision of no objection certificates to be given to those arrested during the protests to enable them to pursue higher education and employment. The government has also announced a 1 lakh rupee compensation for each of the 93 people who were arrested, suffered injury and mental agony during those protests. They will also pay 2 lakh rupees to a 72-year-old woman who is the mother of a protester who died in custody. Remember, Vedanta's Sterlite copper plant has been the center of controversy because of its alleged pollution concerns. There were people who had protested against the pollution that this plant was causing to the villages nearby. 13 of those civilians were killed in police firing and over 100 people were injured and many were arrested. This was back in 2018. The Delhi police has filed a 3,224-page charge sheet against actor Deep Sidhu and 15 others in connection with the Republic Day violence at Red Fort. In the charge sheet, 250 pages talk about how this entire conspiracy was hatched and executed. The Chief Metropolitan Magistrate will hear the matter on the 28th of May. A total of 48 cases have been registered in connection with that incident. These cases were registered by the crime branch of the Delhi police, the special cell and the local police station. 150 people were arrested. Remember, this was the Farmers' Republic Day protest, which turned violent as a group of those protesters broke away from the larger group and approached Red Fort and clashed with the police. More than 300 police personnel were injured in those clashes. The Indian Met Department has said Cyclone Yaas is likely to intensify into a very severe cyclonic storm and cross the Orissa and West Bengal coasts on the 26th of May. It is also said that this will obviously be a severe storm. Remember, last week the severe storm Tokte hit the coast of Gujarat, Maharashtra and Goa. The Bombay High Court has observed that prisoners who are currently in jail have a right to access their own medical records under Article 21 of the Constitution, which gives us all the right to life. Prison officials should provide that information on request. The court also observed that prisoners should be allowed to make phone calls to approved family members after hospital visits. This comes after Sudha Bharadwaj's daughter said that her mother has diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, pulmonary tuberculosis and is very unwell. The family has said that they were not given access to her medical records and they were not allowed to speak to her after hospital visits. Sudha Bharadwaj is under trial for the Bhima Koregaon Elgad Parishad case. She has been in jail for over a year. News now coming in from across the world. Just a few hours after a ceasefire came into effect between Israel and Gaza, Israeli police and Palestinians clashed at the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in Jerusalem. Hours after that ceasefire came in, Israeli police were seen firing stun grenades and tear gas while Palestinian protesters hurled rocks and stones. The police say that officers used only non-lethal weapons and 16 people were arrested. Canada has decided to extend its ban on passenger flights from India and Pakistan until the 21st of June. Cargo flights are excluded from this ban. Canada's Transport Minister has said that these ongoing measures will remain in place to help protect Canadians and manage the elevated risk of imported cases of COVID and variants of concern. An update from the world of sports. The International Olympic Committee Vice President John Coates has said the Tokyo Olympics will go ahead regardless of whether there is a state of emergency or not. He also said, provided that we can protect the Japanese public, the most important thing is giving the athletes a chance to compete. These statements come after Japanese doctors, medical workers have said the games should be cancelled because of surging COVID infections in the state and the overwhelmed healthcare services. One piece of positive news before we leave you for today. The St. George Church in Kochi in Kerala has started something called Storehouse of Mercy, where people can come into this grocery store and take whatever they want completely for free. There is no limit on the quantity that they take, and other people can donate whatever they want as well. So Father John from the St. George Church told the New Indian Express that the items like tapioca, banana, coconut, jaggery, mango, many vegetables are available in the store. Most of these items have been donated to the church by well-wishers. The others the church has paid for the rest. Well, that brings us to a wrap of this weekend edition of Just the News. We'll see you again on Monday. Stay safe, stay home, and of course leave us a note on any sort of changes or improvements or suggestions that you have for us. Thanks for watching. Good night.